Isn't it interesting how we intuitively reject or support certain things depending on our state of consciousness? Sometimes we feel an aversion to something only to realize after a while that we are actually into it. Sometimes the reason for this is a change in our personality or a simple change in opinion. But sometimes it's because we weren't ready for certain information which would have revealed something within ourselves that we weren't ready to see. At least that's how I felt when I came across Frida Kahlo's art a long time ago. Honestly, I couldn't stand it. And when people asked me why, I had some answers for them that I now find kind of amusing. But that's how the mind works, right? It can make up the wildest excuses so we don't face what we are afraid of. Hello everyone, I'm Tasha Marvebi or Marve the artist, and in this video I will be talking about the expression of pain through art, while you get to watch me paint a little bit on my artwork, Natural Woman. If you like this beauty, prints are available on my website, tjfantasy.com. Let's get into this. First, I'd like to share with you how I got inspired to talk about expressing pain through art. I actually got the idea while I was recording the audio for my previous video where I talk about valuing our passions. I talk about enjoying the process of being creative and not being too worried about the outcome. But as I was recording the words, I was not enjoying the process at all. In fact, I was incredibly annoyed because I had problems with my mic. Things didn't go the way I wanted them to go, but I wanted to get this done ASAP. So I was frustrated and I was cursing around a lot, and I was basically doing the exact opposite of what I was suggesting in my recording. And when I realized this, I paused for a second and thought, oh my God, I'm such a hypocrite. Because what's most important to me is to be as honest as possible with my creative work. I want to be vulnerable while respecting my boundaries when I share personal information. But now I also understand that whatever we put out on social media is only a glimpse of the human experience. It might be honest, but it's also scripted, it's edited, and there's always more to the story. So even though I didn't enjoy recording my previous audio, I sure as hell enjoyed writing it and editing the video. I realized that I wasn't a hypocrite. It's just that there are times when I'm doing a pretty good job of acting on my own advice, and then there are times when I'm not. But I do have a history of suppressing difficult emotions and forcing myself to showcase happiness when I really felt like falling apart. And then I thought back to a moment when someone told me that they saw my art as too perfect. When I heard that, I was very confused because for each of my art pieces, I can give like a list of things that I think show that my art is far from perfect. But then I realized what this person actually meant. They weren't talking about my drawing skills. It's just that they were more interested in the kind of art that expressed the more difficult side of human experiences. They wanted my art to showcase hurt. So I wondered, am I being too shallow with my creative work? Am I only half an artist because my paintings focus on finding the light instead of portraying the darkness? Nowadays, I find it incredibly inspiring that Frida Kahlo did not shy away from expressing her traumas in her art. In fact, I'm strongly attracted to works of art that would be described as dark. When I was about 13 years old, I became more involved with more realistic drawing styles because before I was super into anime art, but then I came across two Spanish painters who I considered to be dark artists, Victoria Francés and Luis Royo. I was obsessed with them and practiced handling my hand by copying their art. So there was a time when I didn't shy away from expressing pain after all. But then things changed. I feel like many of us have been trained to suppress feelings of anger, frustration, and sadness. Therefore, I find that the beauty behind any form of creative expression is that it helps us digest our feelings and can give us the chance to create beauty from pain. I think it's just magical to go through this process. Do you know that feeling when you hear a song that makes you incredibly sad, but somehow in a good way? Like it hurts so good. To me, that's an example of beauty from pain. And if you can relate, I want to know which song it is. Let me know in the comments what song or songs you like to hear that makes you feel sad, but also good at the same time. Like the kind of song that makes you say, oh, it hurts so good. I hope you know what I mean. If you know what I mean, write the songs in the comments. I'm going to share some of mine as well. But yeah, like I said, there was a time when I wasn't scared to paint things that expressed hurt. And I think it's because when we're younger, we're still more in tune with our emotions. But the older we get, the more rational we become. Maybe we were shamed or ridiculed for expressing certain feelings. And then there is the need to fit in and not be rejected. So it can become really easy to lose yourself in all these different voices and opinions. And I guess that's what happened to me. So not only did I stop expressing my pain through drawing, but I stopped painting altogether for a while. I did have other creative outlets like music and writing, but painting was always my main thing, until I felt forced to hide away specific parts of myself. And I think that's also the reason why I used to reject Frida Kahlo's art. I didn't deal with certain traumatic experiences in my life, so I didn't want to see hers. I felt incredibly triggered by her story. I myself spent months lying in bed in the hospital after an accident that led to a broken upper leg when I was still in elementary school. The doctor said the bad news was that my type of leg fracture was of the more complicated kind and it would be a long healing process. The good news was that the accident occurred at such a young age because broken bones heal faster when we're younger. So I was lucky in misfortune. I had to lay in the hospital bed for months without being able to get up because of the splint the doctors had to put on my leg. And even after I was discharged, I was tied to the bed because of the cast I had to wear afterward. At this point, I couldn't even sit upright. I could only lie down, so I was completely dependent on the help of others for absolutely everything. And after the cast was finally removed, I had to learn how to use my legs again. I walked with crutches for a long time. I went to physiotherapy, you know, all of that. So the physical healing process was challenging, to say the least. Looking back, however, the worst thing about it was that I did not know how to deal with the emotional pain that I was experiencing. So, seeing photos of Frida Kahlo drawing and painting as she was bound to her bed was incredibly triggering. but now I see it as liberating and inspiring. Because life has proven to me that the feeling of wholeness can only come when we are capable of integrating our shadows. Then our true power comes to light. So only now can I see Frida Kahlo's strength through the vulnerability of her creative work. As I got older, I started to experiment with different painting mediums and enjoyed the process of finding out what I wanted to paint. I did create some art pieces that were a bit dark, but the more I painted, the more I realized that what I needed from my creations was to be reminded of hope. I needed to express beauty and showcase inspiring visions and dreams that I had during the darkest times of my life. I was and still am in the process of becoming aware of a lot of internal pain. My art is my anchor so that I would not forget that there is light at the end of the tunnel. But the beauty of life is that there is always room for expansion. The only thing constant is change. And while I am busy with my next artistic projects, I notice that the desire to express my shadows in my paintings is becoming increasingly apparent. So, to answer my question if I was too shallow with my creative work, I can now say, no, I was not. I did what I needed to do to keep my sanity while becoming aware of the inner darkness. I think as an artist, it is important to respect the fact that our creative work is for ourselves. We pour our hearts, spirits, and souls into our creations. We must create what we want. At least that's how I feel. Otherwise, there is no satisfaction. And if we can build a space of connectivity and intimacy where others can identify themselves in our work, then I think we can consider that a great bonus.